Here we are in a lesson on negotiations. We already studied the mechanics of the job, how to look for freight, how to fill out paperwork, how to analyze the market. We even touched a little bit on the topic of communication with a broker in the third module when we discussed how to book a load. However, the topic of negotiations was neglected until now. Now it's time to understand it thoroughly. Negotiation is one of the main skills of a professional dispatcher. After all, you'll have to negotiate not only with the broker for the price of the load, but also with the driver, with the owners and managers of the transportation company, or with the manager of the facility when you need to move the appointment or ask to unload your truck faster. Negotiations will have to be made with a broker about the load price, detention, or any additional surcharges in case of unforeseen circumstances. In some cases, with a factoring company, with insurance, with a repair service, anything can happen. I once negotiated with a girl who was the manager of the Central Florida Zoo. My driver was carrying a variety of food for the animals and the zoo was refusing to accept it. My next load was burning and I needed the driver to unload immediately. I couldn't reach an agreement with the zoo at the time, so I just called around to various places nearby and asked them to unload the goods. We successfully unloaded at one of the nearby farms after discussing it with the owner in advance and made it in time for the next load. Of course, this is a rather extreme example and such things are not part of the dispatcher's job description, but still, sometimes you have to go to the extreme measures if you want to help your carrier and provide top-class service. Let's talk about the structure of negotiations. The goal of any negotiation is to reach an agreement, in essence, to come to a compromise. When you talk to a broker about a shipment and ask for $1,100 and his first offer was $900, you're likely to come to a compromise and agree on $1,000. But this will only be possible if the broker is really willing to pay $1,000 and your carrier agrees to that. First, let's look at the general principles of negotiation from books and textbooks and put each one in the context of a dispatcher's negotiation with a broker. First, preparation. Before you start negotiating, it's worth gathering full information about the load. Make sure you've listened and written down all the load details and then identify the strengths and weaknesses of the broker for this negotiation. Will the driver have to drive at night? Do you have to drive through bad weather conditions or go through mountain roads? Will the truck lose extra time due to inconvenient pickup or unloading times? Are there any extra unloading points? Does the driver need to be involved in the unloading process? I don't know, is the load highly valuable or easily spoiled? All of these little details will be provided by the broker and can play a key role in setting a price for the shipment. In fact, this idea brings us back to where we started this module, market analysis. If you know the supply and demand for transportation service, if you prepare in advance and do market research, it will be very easy for you to understand your negotiating power and your strengths. Due to the fact that many dispatchers do not analyze and look at the freight market blindly without any preparation, many brokers often don't post prices for their loads. They sit back and wait, hoping that someone will agree to a very low price. Know your strengths, be prepared to negotiate, be attentive to small details of the shipment, and you will succeed. Now for the strategy. The first offer is usually the most important, because it becomes the benchmark against which all subsequent offers will be evaluated and compared. Suppose you call a broker. According to your calculations and analysis, you can get up to $2,500 for this load, but your minimum target is $2,200. The broker picks up the phone, gives you load information, and says he's paying $1,500. The difference is huge. Most dispatchers get lost at this point. They sense right away that they won't get the price they want and lower their bar. Some stop negotiating at all and hung up. Yeah, this is a big mistake from the dispatcher's side, but it happens because the first offer during the negotiations becomes the benchmark. Psychologically, it sets the price level at which the negotiation will proceed. In such a situation, the dispatcher should not get lost. You should move according to the plan and bargain at your own level. In this case, it's $2,200 to $2,500. If I were a dispatcher, I would respond to the broker's price this way. I would say, actually, I was expecting to be at $2,500. How close can you get to my price range so we can find common ground? You see, I mentioned my desired price, but also indicated that I was willing to bargain. I completely disregarded the broker's low price and took the negotiation in my hands. And yes, it's likely that the broker was calling a low price because he actually has a low-paying load on his hands and he won't be able to give the price we're asking. On the other hand, he may have enough money. He's just trying to bait an inexperienced dispatcher. In this industry, you will never get exactly what you ask for. That's very important to think about. You will never get the price you called first. The broker will always haggle. So what do? That's right, we always start with a price that's higher than what we want. So if I know I need to make another $1,500 on the last load to meet my weekly plan, I'm going to sit there and call all the eligible loads and ask for $2,000. And even if I call the broker and he offers me $1,500 right away, I'll still tell him first thing that my original goal is $2,000, and I'll try to get at least another $100 to $200 out of him. Why am I so sure of this? Because brokers know this golden rule too, and they will never give you their best price on the first offer. Hold your strengths for the right time. It's like having an ace up your sleeve. You have to wait for the right hand before you take it out. Here's an example. You call on a load that picks up extremely close to your truck's current location. The broker, while giving you the information, says that it needs to be picked up within the next 2 hours and asks you if you can make it on time. Many dispatchers will immediately blurt out and just say, yes, my driver is only 2 blocks away. He can be there within 15 minutes. They think that this way they will increase the broker's interest in them. But in fact, all the broker will hear is, yes, my truck is very close to this place. It's perfect load for me. I really want it. Please give it to me. You see, that's not exactly what we would like to portray, especially since there is a round of price negotiations ahead. An experienced dispatcher in this situation will simply say, yes, we can pick up the load within 2 hours. And he will take his ace out of the sleeve later, at the most profitable moment. For example, by saying, my target for this load is $2,000 and I can't book it any lower. If you can make it work for me, my truck will be at the pickup in the next 15 minutes. Bingo! We asked for the price we were interested in, and in return we offered speed and the assurance that we wouldn't be late. The odds of success just multiplied, even though the starting point didn't change in any way. The truck, either way, could get to the pickup in 15 minutes. Also, be prepared to stop the negotiation if the other side is clearly stuck in their position and has no plans to move. In that case, clearly express your reluctance to continue negotiating on their terms and make them wonder if you will ever come back. If they're on the hook for a deal and have more money in the load that they're claiming, they will feel the pressure to agree to your terms and will give you a call back with a better offer. Here are some more negotiating golden rules that we use in our company. First, if you're in a high demand area, negotiate a price above market average. If you're in a low demand zone, try to get as close to the market average as possible. If you see that the broker doesn't have much time left to sell the shipment, bargain around 50% above the offered price and at least 20% above your desired price. Always take into account what's wrong with the load: toll roads, weather, mountains, night driving, etc. Pickup and delivery appointments play an important role in pricing. If the driver has to lose an extra day, well, this should be reflected in the rate. Always start with a bid that's at least 10 to 20% higher than the desired price. When a broker says he doesn't have more money on a load, he's lying. He wouldn't be working if he didn't profit from it. If your truck is far from key market areas and you see a hot load nearby, you can negotiate up to 100% price increase. If the broker refuses to put the detention policy in writing, he knows it will take a long time to load. Factor that time into your rate. If the broker says he needs to talk to the customer before making a decision, he's lying. He's just looking for a cheaper truck. If the broker says the load may be cancelled, it most likely will be. Start looking for a new load right away to mitigate the risk. And finally, everything is negotiable. You can negotiate on prices, delivery appointments, sometimes even weight of the load. It all depends on your luck and your ability to negotiate. And now let's reinforce this knowledge. Let's look at a couple of negotiation examples. I asked one of my employees to play the role of a broker, and we played out a couple of possible conversations. I will provide a brief analysis after each example.